I wanted to have my eat, pray, love moment of going abroad. And actually, after joking about it so many times, I really started to realize I used lacrosse as a vehicle to really create the life I wanted for myself in such an important way. And it wasn't actually a joke.
Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Ashley, and today I am joined by Kara Sanford, the founder of Women's Lax Drills, a learning platform that supports thousands of coaches across youth, high school, club, and college lacrosse. Kara grew up as a multi sport athlete, but it was her love for lacrosse that led down a 25-year journey in the game from player to coach, both at the collegiate and international levels, and now as a business leader. And with over 2 decades of experience, there's a lot of learnings along the way. And so I'm excited to dive into her story and the impact that she's making in sport and beyond. So, with that, Kara, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Great introduction. I was like remembering things about myself throughout that. I loved it.
For sure. I'm excited to connect and just learning more about you and your background. You have played such a pivotal role in expanding the lacrosse community in Europe and in the US. And so you're joining us today from Amsterdam. And I'd love to start by connecting the dots. How did your journey in lacrosse lead you from growing up in the US to coaching internationally to where you are today?
Where do I begin? But my joke version, like my silly version, I always laugh and I say I wanted to have my eat, pray, love moment of going abroad, and lacrosse was my vehicle. And actually, after joking about it so many times, I really started to realize I used lacrosse as a vehicle to really create the life I wanted for myself in such an important way. And it wasn't actually a joke. And so, like, through kind of being silly about it, I was able to realize how important lacrosse has been in just like my life development. But I came over here about 12 years ago now. I originally was in Germany. I saw a job application online, applied, and 2 weeks later, I was on a plane moving. So it was just kind of the stars aligned. I was young. I didn't know what I was getting into, to be completely honest. And it just kind of has snowballed into what it is today.
So that's a really big leap to just make the move. It was to Cologne first, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so take us there prior to you deciding to even apply to a position in Germany and just that whole process.
At the time, I was coaching in college, but leading up a couple years before that, I hadn't even considered coaching lacrosse at all. I was working on my marketing degree and in New Jersey, and Hurricane Sandy had hit and it displaced me from my apartment. My job was in a flood zone, so I had simultaneously lost my job, and I was sitting back in my dad's couch after kind of doing the adult thing in my early 20s of getting my own apartment and my own job and feeling pretty bummed out on like what is next. It felt like the end of the world. And my phone rang and it was a random number. I picked it up and it was the lacrosse coach at my high school. She was new. It wasn't the one that I had had. And she said, I need an assistant. And I was like, well, I have nothing else going on. I'm coming over. So with that, I fell in love like in a day. She was such a great leader. I learned so much from her, and she had such an infectious personality, and every day was so much fun. I just took the journey from high school to college, and after 2 years of coaching college, I think you talk to a lot of coaches and athletes, and a lot of the colleges are in areas that they're small towns or in the middle of nowhere. And I realized my journey in my career in coaching college wasn't necessarily it wasn't parallel with what I wanted from my life. So found a job in Germany and I thought, well, that makes sense. It was
The
kind of like,
food's better.
yeah, it was like, let me just throw this out there and see. But it was really temporary. It was a 1 year job. So I went with like all expectations of it being for 1 year. And from the moment I got off the plane, I was just enamored and my jaw was on the floor. Every day was a learning experience, from coaching to what I was ordering to learning the basics of German. It was just so exciting for me. And I had never left my county in New Jersey. I played college in the same county that I grew up in. So it was a really big transition for me. And I felt like I needed more time to learn about the world and myself. And now it's been 12 years.
I love that. So much comes from travel. I think
Yeah.
how, and we've talked about this before, but just how it expands your mind, your perspective, and how you went into that with the expectation of it just being 1 year and how it then I mean, you're still there.
Yeah, and I'm still traveling and learning and interested and excited, and it's one of those things you don't know that you don't know until you're there and you say, "Oh my gosh, there's so much I don't know and I want to learn."
Yeah, I think it's so good to just in general in life when you open yourself up to the possibilities that can come in that experience, you feel like, "Okay, I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna, expand, in different ways."
Thanks. It's so fun. It's hard. It comes with its own challenges, but it's fun and it's exciting and I feel like extra proud of myself when I do things because everything is more difficult here in so many ways just because I'm not a native speaker or new things that you don't realize you didn't know and it's just always a learning experience.
For sure, and how much just the language in and of itself can shape a culture. I mean, I imagine there's so much that you've learned just in, over a decade, living in Europe and different places, but just how much that influences it and what we can learn about one another and people. And
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
so tell us a little bit about the lacrosse scene in Europe, what you knew about it prior to you moving, and then from your involvement once you got there and how things have evolved.
Yeah, I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about Europe. I knew nothing about European lacrosse. For me, it was just ripping the Band-Aid off on every aspect, and when I had gotten over to Cologne originally, I was blown away and inspired by the players, and that was another reason why I wanted to stay because I left coaching in New Jersey, which is a hotbed of lacrosse, and, all of the players have the coolest cleats and the fashionable socks and the best lacrosse sticks and, everything that's in style and up to date. And when I got to Europe, the players were using really old sticks. The stringing was rotting out. Their cleats were, soccer cleats and they didn't care. And they were showing up and busting their butts on the field and they were so hungry to learn. And as a coach, you can't ask for anything more than that. So I was having so much fun and we were just, do you hear my cat?
Yeah.
I might have to get her in a sec.
No, no worries. This is what this is about, we don't know where it's gonna go. I love it. Bring the cat.
Yeah. She will at one point be making an appearance. But I was so inspired by the players and their desire to learn and get better. So I was just so excited every day to show up on the field and challenge myself to be able to challenge them. And that actually is ultimately how women's lacrosse started because I kind of used my arsenal of drills and skills and knowledge and I needed to learn more. And that's actually how my business began and I was alone. So yeah, it's kind of a fun story.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, let's get into that as well too, and how much has your own experience been an inspiration in that way to create this for other coaches?
Yeah, my experience has been the whole influence on starting women's lacrosse. I literally started it because I needed it. My cat Roby is going to make her appearance now.
Yes.
Mothering.
Welcome to the podcast.
It's her world and we're just living in it. I was alone in Germany. I was in a hotbed of lacrosse in New Jersey. I would call up friends, old college teammates, people in the area. We'd grab a coffee, draw drills in the back of a napkin. I had that whole community in New Jersey. And when I was in Germany, I was totally by myself. And like I had said before, I really pushed myself to the limit and ran out of things to coach and do because my knowledge wasn't there. I was a young, newer coach. So I started women's lax drills to try to pull people in to drill share and skills share and learn, network, and grow. And so it was totally started kind of in a selfish way of I need this. And throughout the process, it's really become evident that so many other coaches need it. And it's been really fun to pivot from, okay, this is for me to now, okay, this is for you, and to change the direction of the business.
I love how, again, thinking through like yourself, knowing, hey, this is something that I want to create that I know will help me. And then in that, it can help others as well, too. And just through the conversations that you were having, recognizing that, this is could benefit so many more people within the community. And I think in general that oftentimes like there are common needs, with others like, in different spaces, whether it's in sport or whether it's in other areas of life, that just by having these conversations and connecting, it can spark something. So, when you first started, what were your expectations with it? Did you have any kind of like end goal, or it was just I just need this, and now you're serving, thousands of coaches?
Yeah, I was very naive in the beginning. I didn't actually have a working visa when I created it, so I technically couldn't legally do it. So it was just an open platform, and I spent my time rather like cold emailing coaches and pulling them in. So there was no end game, there was no really goals, it was more just like, "Let's talk. What are you doing? Help me, let me help you." I knew that I knew some things that I could help people, but I never thought I was an elite coach where I would make a huge impact, but I knew that there was value in sharing, and so, since then, I don't necessarily know if I have an end game. That's a great question, and we do networking groups in women's laxtrals in our community, and just yesterday, we had our WILD meeting, which is Women in Lacrosse Development. It's all women business owners and they own clubs and trainings. And our topic was, what is the end game? And it was such a great conversation. And it really got me thinking. And now, here today, to hear you ask that, it's just such a great question. And I don't know if I have the answer off the top of my head, but in the moment, it's, what do you need from the coaches? I ask them out all the time, and then I go and get it, and we just are evolving with the game and evolving and growing together, and it's really just answering questions and getting them answered, asking questions and getting them answered.
And I think when you have such a strong mission like you do in the way, and knowing ultimately how you want to impact coaches, I think it's like, do you really need to have an end game, an end goal to be able to keep going and keep evolving? I don't know, because I know for me, I've learned so much just in the process. And when I've flipped the switch in a way, as somebody who's like very performance driven and always has been, when I've entered a process of just like, all right, I'm gonna surrender the outcome here. There's been so much that has come in that.
The online spaces are evolving so much. Our sport, lacrosse in particular, and the women's side, our rules are being adapted every year. So on both the business side and the lacrosse side, it's just there's always something to learn, to uncover, to figure out. And so I feel like I'm constantly still excited and learning about this. Maybe at some point it will die down. I don't know what's going to happen with AI and with all of these things that might have an impact on community or online. I don't know. So we're riding the wave, we're having fun, we're learning, and we're having our fingers crossed in the process.
Hey, I am doubling down on in this world of AI and automation. I know it's only going to continue to improve, and just it's changing business, no doubt. However, it can't replicate connection with one
Yeah.
another this that we need. And I think in whatever kind, personal connection or within a sport community or whatever that may be, it can't replicate that. And there's so much, and I'd love to learn more how you've seen coaches within the community connecting with one another and being able to come together in a way that maybe wouldn't have been possible without a platform like Women's Lax Drills.
Yeah, it's actually my favorite thing in the world when I see people connecting on the platform. I'm like, yay! Or I will get a photo sent to me of two coaches at a tournament in Arizona or Georgia or Long Island, and they've got their little women's lactuals pin on and they send the selfie, and I'm just so fulfilled by that. But what I see in the community a lot is people laying out their situations and asking a question, and then coaches will comment on them. I mean, the replies are so in depth, they're so well thought out. And oftentimes the coaches are throwing their phone numbers in there. And I know that coaches are getting on calls, they're getting on Zooms, they're meeting up for coffees. I just had a member tell me she went out to dinner with a member, like there's friendships being formed. And so there's really nothing more fulfilling than that, than like kind of knowing that what you created is connecting these people in such a positive way. Sometimes I feel a little bit out of the loop because I am like one of the only European coaches. Our European crew is quite small. There's maybe 10 of us. So everybody is American based. I'm kind of like, on the other side of the world, like, what are you guys doing? What are you doing over there? So it's really, really fun to see.
I think too, just when looking at the different your footprint of coaches and networks, and that it's all over. the
Yeah.
US and also how you like what you've been doing in Europe as well too, but can you speak a little bit to that as well?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of natural. Like, naturally, I'm really chatty. I go to tournaments and I'm meeting all the different coaches, shaking their hands. I mean, this is even before women's actuals existed. I just love people and talking and like getting to know why are you here? Who are you? We have a lot of like American transplants in Europe and even European people. I love it so much. And then on the kind of like business side, I would say the way that people find us is because I put a really big emphasis on all of the different we call them pathways, and we do them by age. So the different pathways, so it doesn't matter what level you're coaching, and we provide videos, PDFs, GIF diagrams of all the drills, and I really, like, lean into making sure that every type of learner can understand our material. So there's just layers within everything that somebody can come in and just feel like, okay, this is for me. And it doesn't matter if they're an introvert, an extrovert, they like to read, they just want to do a quick video. There's just something for everyone. And I think that's helped me be able to expand worldwide and kind of transcend culture as well.
I just imagine how fulfilling that is when thinking back on your journey and knowing, okay, never necessarily leaving New Jersey. And then when you made the move over to Germany and how that opened you up so much. And now you've been in Europe for over the last 10 years and then building this platform that has such an international reach. For you, do you ever take time to actually pause and recognize that as well too? Or like how fulfilling is that for you? Just with your own personal values.
It's so fulfilling. And it's one of these things where I think, wow, this is really cool. I could hop on a plane and go to Shanghai and call the coach there who's a member of Women's Actuals and say, hey, I'll come coach up your kids for a couple nights. Or I can go to Australia or all these places. So, like, on a personal level, it's so wild to know that I have these awesome humans all across the globe and the reach and the impact and the messages that I get of how Women's Actuals is helping them. It's it's really, really awesome, but sometimes it's quite hard to wrap your head around, and it's the same thing with getting the selfies with coaches at clinics and stuff when they're together. It's like, you know each other because of this. It is kind of mind-blowing. It's hard to really grasp.
Yeah. It's amazing because you're bringing people together in ways, again, that,
Yeah.
it's through this.
And it's through an avenue, lacrosse and sports in general, especially in the coaching level, it's often like, hide your playbook, close your book, don't talk to your opponent. No, 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 no. And now we have people in our community who are rivals. They go up against each other twice a season, and it's the biggest high schools against the biggest high schools or colleges who are in the same conference. And now they're hugging each other before the games and they're competing and they're going head to head during the game. And afterwards, they're like high fiving and catching up on the sidelines after. So we're trying to break down those barriers of, you're allowed to run the same drills at practice. We're allowed to have these conversations. There's so much more to coaching than these drills and plays and personalization that goes into it. Like, we can share, it's okay. So to be able to kind of be a part of breaking that down is important.
I love that because in so many ways, I think just in our world, sport does have the power to bring people together. And there is so much, division and competition and us versus them in so many ways. And so even in sport, right? But when you bring, coaches together in a way and then they're embracing one another and having healthy competition, but then afterwards knowing that you're part of this greater community. And I think that's the beauty in sport is that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
Exactly.
Nothing can really break that unless if we do it.
And even when you leave the sport, look at you now, I'm still working within sports. Same with me. It's even when you leave it, it's still such a big part of you. And to be able to carry on, and a lot of the members retire from coaching, or they just retire and they get good old 9 to 5s and they still remain connected with the people that they met in Circle Up. So it's kind of goes so far beyond the field and beyond coaching and beyond sport itself.
Totally. Even just looking at your own journey as a, going from player to coach and now into the business side and building this amazing community. I think it's a testament to when you stop playing, you can keep going within the sport and the relationship may look different, but you don't necessarily have to like totally break up with it because
Yeah.
I think a lot of athletes, myself included, go through this and you could speak to this too, Kara,
Yeah.
of just that transitional period where you're like, who am I without the sport? Can I still stay involved? What does this look like? When you're come into a coaching role, it's much different than being out on the field and playing. When I first coached, I was like, I was just trying to go on the court and just play like, the pickup girl. That's not your role anymore.
Actually, my some of my favorite conversations are with like first year college coaches. So a lot of times I find that players graduate from their college and then they transition right away to becoming an assistant coach on that team. And they're my favorite conversations. I always say to them, so you now realize how much your coaches did for you, right? And they're like, they always are like, yeah, wow, I did not know. So it's so fun.
Yeah, I love that too because you do realize, like, I think when you're a player, you don't see those things. And
Yeah.
then when you come into that position as well too, you're like, "Oh, okay, now I understand." And again, I think that lesson there is so much greater than just in sport. I think it's with, each and every one of us where, we don't really understand somebody's experience or their perspective of something until we actually go through that thing as well too. And yeah, and that's where I think there's so many translations between sport and life.
Yeah, there are big time. I mean, we always hear the quotes of the C-suite women in C-suite positions were all college athletes and just all different statistics like that. And it's so true. I mean, I don't know who I would be if I didn't play a sport and learn and go through all these valuable lessons. And I think as a coach, it's almost tenfold of that, being able to do it on the opposite end and learn the leadership and all of the skills that are required to being a coach. So yeah, I love being able to push and promote and hold, teaching these coaches too to create safe spaces for girls, because that's ultimately the most important thing. And to not only keep the girls in sports, but to support and keep the coaches in sports because it
Yeah.
is a tough job.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, and you've done it both in your home country and then abroad without speaking the native language and, communicating. That was one question I actually was very curious from that perspective when you were coaching in Germany, what that communication was like in ways that you kind of broke through some of that to connect with the players.
Yeah. The communication was really hard at first. I mean, I think every year that goes by with social media and globalization, English across the board is getting better. So back 12 years ago, there were players who did not speak any English, and it was different players translating for them or following my lead or watching players go before them and do it. So there was like buffer time that was needed in between all of the drills and all of the explaining. And I had to learn the skills of really simplifying what I said. And that is a great skill to have as a coach, actually, and to not take 5 minutes to talk about a drill that you're gonna run for 3 minutes, but to do it quick, do it efficiently, and get the team out there and just get them moving. So, there was a lot of translation of what's going on, how we're gonna do it, and keeping it super simple.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's interesting too because it's, no matter what level you're at. So there's a different way, that you communicate to kids that are in 4th, 5th, 6th grade playing versus a high school level versus college versus, your position international and okay, learning what you need to learn and now let's simplify this. And so is that like language of what's, what bullshit.
I'll cut that.
Oh, I thought I will cut it. I thought that was a fire alarm or something. I was like, "Damn,
It's never
never
been.
had that happen on the podcast."
I was so interested in
Someone
what
check
you were
your
saying,
score.
it just scared me to death.
You need to get it? You need to get the tool?
No, it's totally fine.
Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna yeah, but just that point where it's like and I think that's really cool then too, going back to your platform and how you're so accessible to so many different levels in that way because there may be something that is, more advanced that, a coach for a younger team wouldn't necessarily put to use for
Yeah.
that specific group of girls
Yeah.
versus, at a
Yeah.
high collegiate level.
And our pathways are relatively new over the last couple years. So really for the first 5 years or so of women's lax drills, we just had all of the content in one space and coaches had to weed through it and figure out what was for them or not. And it became really evident after talking to coaches like they wanna get in and get out. They're so busy, they wanna grab a drill. So, not only do I need to put it by pathway, we need to start tagging them on, is it defense? Is it zone defense? Man defense? Are we doing ground balls? Is it a full field drill? So, we have a really intricate tagging system as well and just trying to make life easy for coaches. Like, I do not want my platform to have people go, "Oh god, now I have to, like, weed through all of," like, I the opposite feeling I want them to have. I want them to come in and be like, "This is so easy. I could do this on the go. I can spend a lot of time in here if I want, or I can take 30 seconds to filter on a drill in my pathway, grab it, and go on the field and not think twice." So it really is whatever they want to make it, but I don't want to add any stress to anybody's plate because we have enough.
I was just gonna say it's such an important point. I think a differentiator as well too. There's so much content that's available in different places and it's overwhelming. And then we were talking just about AI as well too, and how it's almost like I don't want to have to think about what I'm doing here. And in a way, you're making it so seamless and easy for people to come to you for what it is that they need. And then okay, they can get to focus on the coaching.
Yes. Yeah, let this be your supplement, do your thing. But I always say women's lax drills is an experience. And when people come on, I try to share the full extent of what we can do through we have networking groups and all of the content and things. But they can keep it simple and come in and come out, or they can really dive in. So it's whatever experience that they want to have.
Yeah, I love it.
Now there's
I
a
love
fire.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look at this. This is the best. You know what? You're like, edit it out. I don't think I'm going to edit any of that out. I think it's,
New like cut and slow mo my like scared
yeah,
face, please.
it's the beauty. It's the beauty of showing up and you don't know what's going to happen, right? Okay, so on that note, I think on any kind of journey, whether you're an athlete, a coach, or somebody running a business, you all three in that way, there's a lot of days that are challenging and that are hard. And so you spoke a lot to just how fulfilling that this whole process has been, just in the ways that you've, been able to see the coaches connecting with one another and knowing that this has such an international reach. I want to ask you about those challenging times and when things are hard and you wake up maybe not feeling so motivated, because I think as humans we don't always have motivation every day. However, when we have a strong why, that is the thing I think that keeps us showing up and keeps us going whenever we don't feel like it. For you, has there been any moments or maybe many moments where you've had to come back to your why, and how has that kept you keeping focus and keep going?
Yeah, often. Honestly, often. I think in being an entrepreneur and also like a solopreneur, there's so many moments of like, does anyone care? Even though, like you said, there's 1,200 coaches in our community. My email box is full, my DMs are full, and it's like, but do they really care? Why are we doing this? So there's just this self doubt creeps in so often, and I've found that just being disciplined pushes me through everything because there are days, again, because I don't have a boss. I wake up and I'm like, I could push those emails to tomorrow. I can reply to those DMs tomorrow. Oh, I was going to post that drill today. I could do it tomorrow. There's a good series on Netflix. And it's like, no, you want to do this, get up and do it. And really just the self-discipline for me has been a learned skill. I don't think I inherently have that, but it is again tapping into the why and then pushing on you want to do this, get up, do it, you love it. So it happens often. I think I find myself I could take a weekend trip to Paris. Let's do that. No, Kara, focus. You need to work. You said you would post this. So it's still something that I work really hard to do. And as you can tell with my cats and the fire trucks going by. I'm home right now. So I split my time between a workspace and my home because it just depends when I wake up. Where do I want to put my motivation? What do I want to do? What's being called of me? So there's a little bit of free will in there. There's a little bit of fun, but it's just really opening up the laptop and sitting in a seat every day.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's many people I think who either are beginning something or want to start something or, in a way stepping into a space where they know it could help them in a way similar to your own journey, and then just kind of having these thoughts of like, "Ah, should I really do this?" I wanted to bring this up because I read in a Q&A that you did, and somebody had asked about, like, any hesitancies that you had, in stepping into sport, and you mentioned something about not wanting to, like, be bad at the sport. In
Mm.
in that way, and I think that that can show up or stop us when we want to pursue something out of that fear of, "I don't wanna be bad at this thing," or, "I don't wanna embarrass myself doing this thing." And so how do you overcome some of that? I don't wanna play any sport that I'm not good at for sure, so
Agreed. I
yeah,
know.
I'm not in.
No, I know. I'm like, I'll be on the sidelines and watch you guys go have fun. I'm totally teasing, but we all have those thoughts. But as you can see, like me moving to New Jersey from New Jersey to Germany, like I'm a rip the band-aid off kind of girl. Like I just am. I don't know why or what it is intrinsically inside of me, but I find that when I sit around and think, nothing good comes of it. Truly. I mean, we've all been there. Let's be
We can get really creative in our thoughts.
Oh my gosh, we totally can. And when I actually started Women's Lax I worked on it for about 6 months. I sat on it for 3 months. I did not sleep for 3 months. My website was fully completed, and I would just, like, be awake every night in my bed just like, "I can't put this out into the world. This is so embarrassing. It's so bad. What am I doing?" And maybe it was 4 months because it was the end of the year, so December time, and then I launched in April. And that was like I've never been more stressed in my life. And I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I finally one day was like, just do it. I hit publish and like things work out. But it's funny about how difficult it is to put yourselves out there in sport, in business, in social settings, in anything. And when you do it, it always works out. Like something works out in your favor. You meet a new person, you score a goal, or you just have fun. So rip the Band-Aid off, give it a try, like, that's kinda my mantra on everything in life.
I love it. It's building confidence as well by doing.
Yeah,
And I think sometimes you're like, "I gotta, like, get confident before I step into this thing," but you step into it, and then that's how you're building the confidence as you're going, and it
yeah.
doesn't mean that you have to know exactly what the end result's gonna be, because most of the times we don't know what that is,
No.
and it's often never as we imagine.
No, never, but I think it's the same in sport and business and career and anything where I started lacrosse because my friends were doing it, and it then transformed into I wanted to play in college. The same thing with my business. I started it because I needed it, and then it transformed into, "Oh, other people need this, let's continue to grow it for them," and so I moved to Germany for 1 year, and then it transformed into something else, so it's always just starting because there's so much great life and experience waiting for you on the other side that you don't have a clue. You can't even like dream it up in your head, even though we love to do that. But you can't even imagine what is like waiting for you on the other side. So I'm always really excited about that idea.
So good, so good. Yeah, also, I mean, if you think back, 20 years, could you have imagined that you would have this kind of platform right now and how you're serving thousands of coaches all around the world?
No way. No way. I know sometimes I get a little imposter syndrome. I'm like, oh, I'm just like from the Jersey Shore. I'm just this little girl. And then I'm like, "No, no, no." When I heard your intro about me, I was like, "Oh, I've done some things." Like, "Okay, great." And I think no matter how long you've been in the game or how long you've been doing it or how many people you're impacting, like, you still need that reminder sometimes. It was, like, really nice to hear you say those things. It was like, "Yeah, that is
Not
me."
Kara, you're a badass, come on.
I know, you forget those things, though.
Yeah, but it's I think too, yeah, and how it's like you're a go, 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 and doing different
Yeah.
things, and I think wow, then you look back and you can, take time to reflect, pause, and see yourself in the process too, and be like, okay, there's so many wins along the way. There's so much fruit along the way. And, it's I think so good to recognize and see that,
Yeah.
pat ourselves on the back
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes. And we had in our networking group yesterday for our women in lacrosse development business owners, we were talking about what does success look like and like coming back to that. Not only why you started, but what does success look like? Because I think sometimes, I mean, especially in a capitalistic world, it's I need more members, I need more income, I need more impact, I need more of this. And it's like, no, you success looks like people connecting, learning, growing, gaining confidence on the field. That's it. Like, come back to that. And so that has been a really big thing too, especially when you get caught up in the go, 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 the grind and the like comparison and all the things. Just really
So good.
remembering what you're doing. Yeah.
It's so anchoring, I think, when you come back to that.
Yeah.
And when you even keep that in front of you, and I love that question because I think our version of success can and does evolve over time.
Yeah. Definitely.
And when you can, like, almost define it in a way in whatever kind of season that is, and then keep that as your anchor that you go back to,
Mhm.
especially on the days that are hard, you don't have the motivation.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. I love that, like, that question so much because I start using it now, like, when we do projects within Women's Actuals or we do live trainings or content, it's like, what does success look like with this? So we even do it on a smaller scale where it's like, all right, we want like 8 people to show up to our networking group. That's what successful looks like. So even on like smaller scales, it's fun just to like that question is so deep, but
Yes,
also easy in a way, and it really keeps you motivated to go, like, hit those small goals. So I use
yes.
it all the time.
For sure. I think as athletes too, when you're have that competitive nature and that mindset, you're always trying to win, you're always trying to do more, you're always trying to hit these marks. I think when you do break it down in that way, like I've been trying to practice this where kind of like to help me keep showing up to each day with intention and while I'm in transition with different things, work,
Yeah.
etc. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, how do I win October? What does it look like to win October?
Yeah.
And just setting that. And
Yeah.
because I know if you try to get so far ahead of yourself, you're like, I want to do all of these things, and you have vision, you have ideas, you have all of this. But what does it just look like to win October? Okay. And then you can plug each week, to get to that,
Exactly.
to win the month. And then I can look at myself and be proud in that way and say, okay, you showed up and you did this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I know. Yeah, it's a good one to use. I mean, athletes can use it on the field too. Like they're going into a game. What does success look like today? I want to, run as hard as I can up and down the field when I'm on, or I want to score a goal, or I want to make an impact on offense, or whatever it is. Something tangible and reachable is such a fun question.
Yeah, it is. It's a great question. I'm thinking
Yep.
about it more now because you can even break it down. Like you can
Yeah.
break it down to like, go as far out as you want. Like what success look like this year? What does it look like a month? What's it look like this week? This and it sounds but again, it just breaks it down in a way where you're like, yeah, I can do that. I can do that,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
especially when you said it so tangible, like I said, we do it for our networking. We're starting a new networking group. We want 8 people to show up the first time. All right, well, we need to reach out to more than 8 people because people are gonna say no, so it's kind of like gives you these goals and these check points to hit the goals and, like, tangible to find success, and then you're sitting there and 8 people showed up and you're like, "Yes, I did it," you know? But you were really clear with what you wanted to do, and it wasn't, an outrageous thing. It was truly what will make you feel like you're successful. So, I love it. My husband's probably sick of me saying, I'm like, "What does success look like to you?" Shut up.
That's so good. I'm gonna think about it all the time
He's like,
in
"I
all
just wanna talk
situations.
about dinner. Why are we talking about success right now? Come on."
It's such a great question, because you can really take it in so many ways and giving yourself permission to allow it to change and look different for, different situations and different seasons of life and different
Yeah.
times in those ways and just allow yourself to show up to that question with like an open posture and open mind too.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
don't limit yourself. I love it. So, Kara, this has been awesome. Thanks so much
Yeah.
for being part of the podcast, and um I love learning more about your own journey too, and just all of the bold steps that you've taken along the way. There's so much to really take from that, in the sense of the courage, and not knowing what's on the other side, and because of that, how it has opened up so many doors for you and just allow you to continue to evolve and spark new ideas. And then how that has led to all the work that you're doing with women's lax drills and the platform and community that you've built through that, and how it continues to expand in just such incredible ways. And the journey just continues. The connections with one another, bringing people together through sport, is such a beautiful thing. And you're leading that. So thanks for being here and being part of the podcast.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I always love chatting with you. So to be able to do it in this format is great. I can't wait to listen back and learn from the things that you asked and just continue growing and getting better every day. So thank you so much for this experience.